Bam, and we're live. Okay, yeah. So this room actually, I gave the other room around the corner to my brother.
Okay.
Because he's older than me. When he was going to college and I wasn't, he just needed it a lot more than I did. And my mom was moving out of her place, so I needed to move here, but there was no rooms. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just like build my own room. So I threw up these curtains, and then I started living. Originally, this room only went to the edge of the bed there, so I could take like 2 steps, like in any direction, and that would be my room. That was how big it was. Eventually, we moved it over to include the extra space that you see now. But yeah, I mean, oh yeah, it's like my own little comfort dungeon room place. I put all the tapestries on the wall because it was really depressing without them. Just these like quartered off basement section.
Right.
But with the tapestries, at least it feels sort of warm. And I felt like I was too old to throw posters and stuff on the wall, which I had before, but I don't know, my face scene ended a long time ago, so
I mean, I personally like it. It's got a really touching feel to it. I mean, I love tapestries. I love the blue and the red light that you got going on here. Right. It's pretty warm. It's a combination of the cool.
I just did that this week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I just did that this week. I'm still figuring out the combination that I want for him.
Right.
But I think it looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. It gives it some sort of mysterious touch, I would say.
All right, so thank you for joining me so much today. I have so many questions about what it's like to be... Is it student body president? Is that like the official title? Student body president?
Yes, that is the official title.
So, student body president, McHenry County College. What is the student... Oh, God. I'm going to mess this up a million times. The student body president. What is that? Like, what does that mean?
Right. Okay. So, to start off, the student body president, as its role, as stated in the Constitution, or bylaws that we have, is the official spokesperson for student government. This individual goes into meetings, goes into conferences, and talks on behalf of the student government. Alongside that, if we have to take any initiatives, any projects dealing with any current issues on campus, then I'm the one who kind of helps start the procedure, and then I might have a committee run the rest, and then after that, I present the project. So basically, so I know, unfortunately, it sounds like I take a lot of the credit for a lot of the things.
Yeah, but I mean, I think one of the first things you said there was, when you represent the student body government, does that mean you're a removed entity, or you're in the student body government and you represent them as the face?
So that's I would say it's a little bit of both. So I would say I'm the face of the student body and student government. However, when they're taking initiative, when they're taking certain projects, then I kind of detach myself from that, let them do their thing, and then when they need me to kind of present the project or to represent or just need any assistance, then I go up and I do my thing.
That makes me question, is there any sort of... Shell shock's a weird word for it, but is there like... If they're doing their own thing as this team and maybe they call on you
right
to represent it or present it, I mean, do you have trouble wrapping your head about what around something they've created or a certain goal they're shooting for?
Right. So you might think that I'm not really there when they're like meeting or anything. However, I guess the term kind of detach myself completely from it is incorrect. I actually try to meet with them at least once or twice a week in their smaller meetings. So I think I should really explain how student government works.
Yeah.
In order to kind of first explain. Okay.
I have no idea.
Right. No idea, I think, I kind of jumped off the ship a little and tried to go into the big ocean without explaining anything. Yeah. So the student government is divided into the executive board members, club council, and the student body. And within these categories, there's subcategories within themselves.
Yeah, that sounds like checks and balances. It's like a checks and balances
basically
situation.
what we're trying to do is create a bit of a balance.
Yeah.
And as student body president, I'm basically the one who is in charge and making sure that everything's running smoothly. I also lead the meetings for student government. Now, let me explain what each and every single branch of these sections do, and I'll briefly explain.
Okay.
So, the executive board are basically the leaders of the organization. They're the ones who help run the meetings. They consist of the president, the vice president, the treasurer, faculty council, and student trustee. If you'd like, I can explain briefly about
treasurer. Yeah, that I have an interesting question about that. I mean, treasurer. There's a student body treasurer?
Correct.
Whoa. And it's really weird. I'm literally on my last semester at the MCC. I don't know anything about anything of that. So yeah, I had no idea we had a student body treasurer.
Right.
What does that entail?
So, I'll go back and explain every single position.
Yeah,
again.
And we haven't even finished, the executive branch? We still in the executive
Right,
branch?
we're still in the executive branch. So, the executive board, again, leads a lot of the meetings, with the president being the main leader. But the vice president assists me with any initiatives that I need to take on, any meetings, any appointments. She's also in charge of what's known as club council, which is another branch that I'll talk about in a sec. We also have secretary. Secretary takes notes during the meetings, creates the agenda for me, and then I, of course, approve the agenda. And she just takes notes, takes attendance. That's basically her role. Then we have the treasurer. The treasurer takes care of the student government funds. And how it works is that student government is supposed to be the central piece in MCC. And I say supposed to because sometimes, not a lot of the clubs know about this, because every single year we do have different leaders because the other ones, go away, graduate, transfer, whatever.
Yeah,
so
short-term limit.
Correct.
See, huh?
It's quite short-term, so it's kind of hard to always keep everyone consistent and letting them know that we have a budget that we can give out to clubs whenever they need to create an event or want to go to a field trip.
I had no idea clubs had budgets either, and that budget goes through student government?
I can talk about that in a second, how it works, because they have their own personal budget, and then they can ask student government for, I guess you can say, their own budget. So we also have faculty council. Faculty council representative represents the student voice in faculty meetings. So these are all the professors around Mchenry County, and if they have any issues within their class material, or they want to present a new class, the faculty council goes to those meetings, hears them out, brings back that information to the student government meetings, and then we try to see from there. We give feedback on such topics. And
this actually sounds, the way you're laying it out, it really sounds like student government is way deeper than I initially thought. It sounds like there is way more voices than I initially thought. And I mean, geez, you guys are working with the faculties, working with the clubs, working with other versions of yourselves within the school. This is way deeper than I thought. Are you a full-time student?
I'm a full-time student.
Oh, geez, you have a job?
I have a job too.
Oh my gosh, where do you find time? Where do you find time for that?
Believe it or not, I'm very strict with my time.
Yeah.
I'm very on top of things. There are days, I will not lie, that I procrastinate and I don't want to do anything because every single hour I have something to do.
I mean, you're only human. So.
Correct, yeah.
You're only human. Even Trump goes golfing.
Oh my goodness, right?
I think, was Obama a big golfer? He had some sort of activity he was really big into. I mean, everyone's got to take a break.
Right. And actually, there's one piece that I forgot to mention within the executive board, and that is the student trustee. So these last two pieces are really essential for student government to function. The student trustee is an official voting member of the board of trustees. Now, to briefly explain what the board of trustees are, they're selected community members to represent Mchenry County College and to create programs, policies, and to approve them. So they're basically the big bosses there. They're even above the president of McHenry County.
Whoa.
So yeah, they're basically
you dropped a bomb on me there.
Right.
Whoa. Who are these?
These are
people. They're community members, but they go through a trustee that is on the executive.
The board of trustees. That's the name of
Board of trustees.
Yeah, board of trustees are up there. We have a student trustee. That's a student representative on the board of trustees.
Yeah.
That is a voice for the students. It's a really essential piece, and one of the most important, because again, since they're the ones that approve the policies, approve the programs, and pass them on, they also approve budgets. They approve any physical construction going on, or any sort of maybe, like we recently had like the fitness program that was changed. They're the ones who kind of approve these things, and they are community members of McHenry County. So basically the community still has that voice, still has that power to create the changes. So
I didn't even consider writing out my sort of loose script of questions to ask that like I wanted to make sure I didn't miss in this discussion. I didn't even consider people outside of the college. Like that had never even crossed my mind.
Right. And
wow.
You'd be surprised actually as students how uneducated we are about this whole system.
That is definitely something I want to touch on with you because, as I said, I'm a last semester student. In a lot of ways, the organization you work for, I'm not sure if saying they missed me is the right way to put it.
Right.
But I feel like it missed me. Like, I don't know anything about it.
Right.
I don't know what you do. I didn't know there was branches. I don't know what this trustee thing and this council branch. I mean, I don't know any of that. It's pretty incredible that you guys are all doing this work sort of. I mean, I don't know if saying behind the scenes is like rude, but I just don't see a whole lot of it. I mean, you guys are doing an incredible amount of work. Just a few times I've walked in that little office space where you are with a few fellow students. You guys are doing work. You're putting things together. Oh man, how you manage that with the rest of your lives, I think is super fascinating.
Right.
Definitely why I wanted to talk to you today. How do you feel like you could reach more people about this sort of thing? Because I mean, I've seen the joint student government, tables in the cafeteria, and I have a little pamphlet. I thought about going. I think it's a little too late for me, but I thought about going. Maybe should have went a long time ago. But I was, I don't know. Every semester I look at myself and I'm like, oh God, I was so stupid then. So like, I'm not sure I'm cut out for it. But I mean, how do you feel like you could reach students better to be involved about these things, to know about these the going-ons of these clubs, or should they? Do you feel they should? Do you feel like there's a lack of some sort of connection between people and knowing about these things?
Well, those are really separate questions there, and I'll try to explain a bit more.
That was a very long-winded question.
No worries, no, and it happens because when you don't know about the system, and then you know that there's a lot more going on, then you're like, oh my goodness, what about this?
Already way deeper than I thought.
Right, no worries. So the way it works, how do we reach to students? So this is what's known as a job for the committees.
Okay.
The committees are also a branch within student government, and they're divided into 4 sections. We have the service committee. The service committee tries to reach out into the community and try to find volunteer services or opportunities for the student body and student government. And that's just to help kind of promote a bit of student government, as well as try to create an essence of community within our community. We also have what's known as the events committee. The events committee is in charge of creating any sort of special occasion or any national day that's tailored for students so they can enjoy. So right now we actually had International Coffee Day, and what we did is that we just gave out coffee in the Student Success Center. We will be having like midterm day, so this one midterm week My apologies.
Yeah.
Where we will be giving, with the events committee, we'll be giving out baggies with number 2 pencils, erasers, mints, gum.
Ooh,
all these little cute little baggies.
Stop by there.
Yeah, definitely go stop by. And they will be around the hallways, whether it be in the commons or upstairs near advising. That's where they'll be at. But I jumped a bit off. We have engagement committee. Engagement committee does something called open forum, which is right outside in the commons at least once or twice a month. And what they do is that they try to get students, again, engage at MCC. They try to reach to them and say, hey, what other issues, what concerns do you have, or are you possibly interested in joining some sort of club, or are you interested in joining student government? And they bring all that feedback to student government. Now, the last one, which personally I would say is one of the most crucial pieces in the committees, is known as the academic committee. The academic committee is in charge of doing research, so that would involve questionnaires and interviews on issues that are going on around campus. And they work very close alongside administration. They work alongside the professors, especially the chairs of certain departments, and the board of trustees along with the students to create these changes. So they do a lot of the behind the scenes work. So it involves research, data analysis, and presentation. Those are just basically the 3 steps that it takes. And so those are all the 4 committees that work in student government. And these committees are senators for student government. And the senators are in charge of promoting student government to one another and to say, hey, if you have any problems, any issues going on, come to stop by student government at 4 p.m. It'll be 166, 167. And that's where the communication starts. However, every year, student government and the way it functions, to an extent, does change because the leaders might have a different vision than priors, which is why at times you may seem like you're probably disconnected. Maybe a lot of organizations don't know about that. Maybe students don't know about that, because the incoming leaders sometimes need time to kind of test the waters out and understand a bit of what goes on.
Would this be your vision then that they're currently following?
So I haven't even explained my vision really.
Wow. I love to hear vision. On the thoughts of water, I've thought about lining up like literally a line of water, because every guest I've had so far has gone through the water in like the first half hour, and it's just never enough.
Right.
My last guest, I had Christine Colosi on. She's a student from the Art Institute of Chicago.
Right, I heard the podcast.
She went through like 5 cups of water.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be like,
during our session, I gotta get more. I gotta get more water for the guests.
That's hilarious.
We're learning.
I might just end up drinking your Arizona tea you got there. Not sponsored by it. No.
Yeah, but okay, yeah, sure. Pitch the vision.
Right.
And I want a campaign slogan too. Like, what would be like because I mean, your student body president, do you have like a how do you even get to that position? Do you have to vie against other people? You have to have people in these committees and executive branch and council vote for you? You have to get endorsements by people. How do you even get to a position like that? Before we reach your vision, I want to hear a little bit about the journey.
Right. Okay. So the way you apply for the executive board positions, which again are one of the most important pieces in student government, again because they're the leaders, is you go through an application process. And how you do that is you meet with the advisor of student government. She's also the student activities coordinator. Her name is Megan Scanlon. And she creates this application where you're supposed to first sign a paper that says that you agree to the ethics that are within student government and how you're going to be promoting or campaigning for yourself for the elections. And so this involves no mudslinging, no trash talking. You don't get any other people to do the campaigning and the whole application process for you.
Do you get vetted? Like, do they go through you probably do go through your social media. Maybe is there like a personality test? Like what's the?
You know, that's really.
Do they make you take an oath? Like,
That's really interesting. When you brought up the whole, if I'm getting vetted,
Yeah,
they do like a background check.
probably get vetted, right?
They, believe it or not, they actually don't do any of that until, and I wouldn't say they, it would really be Megan. I don't think she does that. And I think,
Yeah.
and it's mostly because I had already known Megan for a while, that I think she had a good understanding of who I was.
Sure. Well, if you needed a voucher, you should have bummed her my number over and like, he's a great guy.
I know
Love
this
him.
guy.
Love him.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Love him.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And so, so where was I going with?
Oh, you
all
were
this?
talking about the application process and how does one become a student body president? Because I see a lot of branches here, a lot of committees. I mean, do you have to serve on those committees? I'm not so sure because the term limit is so short. I mean, you can't get everywhere. It's not like you can be fucking Secretary of State for 10 years or be a senator or do military time or something. I'm talking about, like
The
actual
real
federal
world.
government positions
Right.
here. When it comes to this position, I mean, you just, it seems like you just don't have the time to get everywhere. So how do they choose? How do they choose? It's gotta be such an interesting process.
And we have to get 50 signatures from the student body.
Okay.
So what we do is that we go up to students around campus and we say, hey, I'm running for so-and-so position. Here's what I'd be working on as student representative, yada, 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 and then you would, the students would select if they would give you the signature or not. And again, 50 signatures, you can actually get that done in about 8 hours if you really go around your classes and campaign and such. You will get questions asked, however. So that's, I think, another portion of the application process that's kind of unwritten, but students will still do. So you have to answer a lot of interesting questions that do arise. And one of the questions that arose from actually was, what has made you different from any of the former student body presidents? And so for me, I'll be very honest, that question was very intimidating because, well, first of all, I don't like to compare myself to anyone else. I would rather compare myself to who I was the day before. So for me, that was a difficult question because I've never really compared myself to the other presidents, and mostly because it sounds more like I'm competing with them, which is not really the message I'm trying to give out.
Right.
However, I did say I'm different from the past student body presidents because I'm actually have developed all these interpersonal skills throughout the years. So I studied communications in my own time for about 4 years and prepared myself for such position. I've had leadership positions before in the past. I was LASSO president, which is the Latin American student organization back in my high school. I was also moved my way up to become a shift leader at McDonald's in 6 months. So I'm very serious when it comes to leadership and leadership initiatives.
Oh yeah, cute cats.
I know, I was about to squeal.
So,
but,
so what I'm getting is, you had a good resume.
Correct.
You had a good resume, and you had experiences and examples in your life that you were ready to show them. You went in.
Right.
You rocked it with your personality. That's our guy. They just knew that's our guy.
Right, and
after this application process.
Yeah, and the application. Yeah, that's the 50 signatures, the signing of the ethics, the answering questions, and then you also have to present your grades, your transcripts.
Oh yeah.
And right now we actually, the transcripts aren't really that bad, honestly. You have to have a GPA of 2.5 at least, and it has to be overall and within the semester.
2.5. That's pretty doable.
That's really doable.
Yeah.
I mean, in my personal experience, yeah. I mean, right now I'm at a 3.2, and I've never really gone below the 3.0 mark in all my years. So that's more than doable.
I mean, they can't make it like 4.0, honestly. I mean, because if you're gonna have all these people on all these crazy extracurricular positions, and they have to balance work life and school life, they're probably all mostly full-time students. If they're going to be on student body, I mean, they're obviously very involved in school, so they're probably full-time students.
Correct.
And if you have a bar of 4.0, those kids you're going to drown them. You're going to drown those kids.
That's way too high in my personal opinion. That'd be crazy. That would be too much work, and these students wouldn't be able to get anything accomplished. Yeah. So, right.
And nothing would get done either.
Yeah, exactly.
They get in.
Right. No, I think I would have a meltdown with everyone else. Right.
That's awesome. All right. So now we know what it takes to get in, and how you have gone through the process.
Right.
Now tell me the vision, what it's been like putting it in action, what you want to put in action, how's it turned out. Tell me that reality.
Right. Okay. So without much disrespect to former leaders, there always seems to have been lack of communication. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, I did study communications back in high school in my own time, and how to do interpersonal communication, how to conduct meetings and be open and receptive to other people's opinions. I feel like that was an environment that wasn't really created, and in order to first create that environment, you have to create trust within these individuals and this government. Trust that it is really hard because you're dealing with different types of personalities. Now, I should just give a bit more background on myself. My major is in psychology with a minor in sociology. I want to eventually get a PhD in clinical psychology. So I look at the lens from a more individual perspective. So going back to what I was explaining, I always look at the individuals and try to see how can we get these people to start talking with one another. Because I'm sure that's one of the things, even in classes, I know we've heard a lot of faculty, a lot of professors speak how they can't get the students to speak. Well, that starts by creating a sense of trust within the room. And how we do that is that we do a lot of engaging games together. We separate these individuals into groups, and these groups will work together on a team project, a fun little project. It doesn't have to be anything big or serious. Just get the feel with one another. That way they're comfortable with opening up, because you cannot open up if there's strangers in the room, Yeah. And I feel like that's something that wasn't really done enough of in student government. So my vision is to first start from the inside out. So get these students to trust one another, to maybe not like confess maybe their deepest, darkest traumas, of course, but to rather say, hey, yeah, I'm okay talking
to you. Not a psychologist yet.
Right, exactly. It's like, okay, hold up. This isn't the meeting for this. And so that's where my vision starts off. Then we can start branching out to other organizations, to other clubs, and let them know that we're here.
Yeah.
So really my vision is just to make sure we start communicating efficiently with one another. That way we can apply those things into other organizations.
Well, I love it. That sounds beautiful. That sounds like what we need, honestly, too. And I think I've seen that change during my time at MCC, honestly. That brings me into like a really interesting story. You talked about inside out and communication. You felt like it was lacking and whatnot. And I remember that day when we were walking through the hallway. We just got our books, and we passed the MCC president, and he said something to us like, "Oh, those what do you fucking say?" He said those books. What did he fucking say? He said, I had it written down here. Oh yeah, here he goes. I think he said, you boys look full. And we were carrying our bags, which were full of books. And, which was like you know, it was sort of like a witty, jokey comment. And I liked it. It was funny. But I thought he was just one of those college reps who come to the school who I largely ignore because I'm not. Right. I don't plan on transferring to campus at the moment, so I'm just like whatever. And I said, my wallet's not. And then the next year, there has been the shift from books to paper. It's like this. You probably know the official name. It's like a less books initiative of some sort, where they're phasing out the books in the class.
Right.
Instead they're printing the handouts and printing the key sections that we have to read instead, and leaving all the other extra content that we'll never touch in class, just way out of it.
Right.
Am I at fault for that? I feel bad. But before you answer the question, I have to say that I gotta add some context to why I answered like that too. It's because I'm a self-made guy. I've never gotten much help. I worked 2 jobs almost at all times since I was 16. I pay for my college. I pay for both the cars I've had, and I've actually paid for my brother's college even. I pay for his college too. And you know what I wish I could tell the president, and at least then, is, I mean, I've learned so much and gained so much at MCC, and I feel like its trajectory, in my opinion, has gone in such a better way since even I've started going there, just my short time. I honestly don't know if I even want it to be over. I'm on my last semester. I kind of don't want to leave, honestly, and I'm loving the new handout policy because I can mark up all my papers and I don't have to carry the heavy books, and it doesn't cost me anything, and I just get the new content like that day. I find it's harder to lose track of, and I don't have to balance it being online and in front of me and like, oh, this page and do this and then find the assignment. Blah. It's like a lot of it's just like right there in front of me. And you know, I owe it to MCC for instilling me with that kind of appreciation for school. And maybe it didn't come across in that comment I said, like in that moment.
Right.
I feel like it didn't come across like, oh, my wallet's not, oh, this kid doesn't give a shit about school. He thinks it's just too expensive and malarkey. Right. Really, honestly, I have a really deep appreciation for MCC, and I love the way it's going, especially the last 2 semesters I've been there, and you guys should be really proud of that. Because I'm such a snark, and I'm such a like find a problem, rebel against everything kind of guy. For you guys to even touch me, I think you guys should be pretty proud. So you owe yourselves a pat on the back. And I wish I could tell your president that, or I don't know, maybe you could get it to him. But honestly, like, really appreciative of the school. It's a really cool county college, in my opinion.
Right. Well, first of all, thank you again so much for your appreciation.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And essentially, as MCC, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to work together as student administrators, faculty, to make sure that everything's running smoothly. It's not easy work. That's one of the things I will tell you. The second, what you're talking about there is how we're trying to start an initiative where we remove textbooks and we start using online resources. Now, please do not quote me on all these things.
Yeah, I have been seeing the online textbooks and stuff we've been linking to in class.
Correct.
We've been reading that too. I haven't used it too much in my classes. My classes are pretty much all social studies classes at the moment, so maybe that's just sort of that wing of the school. Maybe other wings are using it far more than I am, but I have noticed that too.
Right. So the student trustee actually gave us an update during our last meeting, and she might have a bit more background on this. She was telling us how we have started this initiative with some math departments. And so, not, I should say, with the math department in some classrooms. And that's where we're starting off. Next, we're going to be pushing it more towards history and political science. So maybe that's why you've been seeing a bit more of that change within there. Of course, it's not limited to those. If there are professors, if there are classes where they feel like the textbooks weren't enough, coverage or were too expensive for students, then they're shifting away to from textbooks to online resources where they themselves can print out these papers and such. So the textbook initiative has been going on actually for about 2 to 3 years. However, it's been given a push. And I will say that especially with your comment, I would say if President Gabbers mentioned it during our meeting, it was probably something that impacted him too.
Yeah.
And it was a really good example.
Are you saying he did?
He mentioned it.
Oh no.
But he
Oh no.
during our meeting, this was last year, of course.
Holy shit. Yeah, oh man. Yeah, I really wish I could add like the context of who I am when I said that.
Right, and
because I really am like that, like middle class, doesn't get any funding from anywhere, had to work for everything.
Right.
Kids, so when I it really impacts my life when I spend that much on a textbook.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's like, it's unfair or like I felt cheated. Like I definitely don't, because at the end of my college experience, I'm really grateful for it. I'm glad I fucking did it. So yeah, I mean, I wish I could add the context to that situation.
No worries. Our president, believe it or not,
man.
is very in touch with the students.
Yeah.
He really wants to know what they're talking about, even if it is a bit hard to take in. However, he actually laughed, not in terms of a mockery, but of agreement. And he was saying that these are the type of students that I want to help out, because I did give him a bit of context. I did give him a bit of your background.
Yeah.
And explain that you weren't.
I'm very much a devil's advocate.
You can be. So
yeah, you can.
and I did mention to him that you were just working too much. You kind of relied on your own. You had no assistance.
Yeah.
And he was telling, and he responded, "Well, this is the reason why I wanted to do this for these students,
right?
Because they deserve to get just as much education as anyone else who can afford these textbooks and can afford to come here, and don't need to empty their wallets." Just to pay for these textbooks and to get an education.
What's funny too is I actually kept like almost all of my textbooks I bought from the college. I before we started doing the handout process, I would write in them and I would do my notes in them, and I have pretty much all of them under my bed right
That's
there.
hilarious.
Yeah, I even have some in that's like my favorite reading list and things I have to read right over there. I've got like 1 or 2 even in there. It's from college.
I will say that some of the textbooks too I've kept myself.
Yeah.
Mostly dealing with like social sciences. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I was just a grumpy student.
Yeah. In a moment, let's be honest. You have to read over like 1 or 2 chapters a week. So these textbooks aren't really as appealing until you kind of have a bit more time to actually look it over and really digest the information and apply it to your life.
You know what? A lot more nowadays, now that I'm in the later sections of my community college life, I'm taking way more classes that I want to take because I have a better idea where I want to go. So now I have textbooks I like to read and college textbooks that are of great substantial value to me.
Right.
So I don't even mind spending that much money on. They're like, you want to rent or you want to buy? I want to buy it.
Right.
Even before I've opened it.
And I think that really does deal a lot more with the independent person, because a lot of students actually still think that these textbooks are a waste of time, waste of money.
Do you feel like that's a very young adult position to take?
Right. I think.
These textbooks. What do you think about that?
I would say, and maybe again, this isn't me speaking as student body president, because I'm not representing the student body voice here.
Yeah.
Rather, it's more of my perspective and my observation as Ramiro Angelino. So I should put that emphasis on here. I think that the very few people are actually interested in learning about things, that are very passionate about things.
Yeah.
I think people, from observation, are just going into different careers because that's what's going to get them a lot more money.
That is super interesting perspective, and I want to touch on that real quick. This is a big long-winded question. So I've been thinking, you think about because when people ask me, oh, should I go to community college? What's community college like? Like my stepbrother or some other young kid I know, or some new worker who's from high school at my job, and they ask me, I go to MCC, and then obviously they're going to go to MCC. They're from around here, right? They're from the county.
Right.
They ask me, what's it like? Where do you want to go there? I always explain to them that you have to understand, in a community college, no one lives at that school. No one is living on campus in community college. Maybe some people like metaphorically joke that they do because they like do so much because they work so much or something.
Right.
But no one is literally living in. None of the students live on campus. When people go to community college, they are not. It's weird to say they are not living school life, but not in the way they would be if they were on campus. That's like school life. Like you live, breathe, walk, school.
Right.
Like where. You wear too. You wear school. Like you are the school in that sense. And when you think of community college, these are middle class people in the county who are trying to go there to get their quick education. They're going to take 1, 2, 3 classes. They're going to get in. They're going to get out. A vast majority of people are not staying there any more time than they have to.
Right.
So when I talk to them about it, it's like you got to understand a lot of these students, they got to get out of the college because they got a job they need to get to. They have a house they have to pay for.
Right.
They have kids they need to take care of. They have just other stuff. They got other stuff to do. So they get into the college, they take these classes, and they get out. No one's like living the school.
Right.
Which I think is... So yeah, I would love to get your thoughts on that. I mean... I feel like that might be why there's sort of a bit of a disconnect between the student government and the people there, or the people there not communicating or not talking to each other, or maybe students not commingling. Maybe it's hard to make friends for a lot of people, because I feel like, myself included, get in there, get their work, take the class, and then get out, because they just have so many other things in their life to take care of. College is just like one facet of like the work, social, family life, where if you just went to campus, it's just, for a lot of people, school, and maybe school and work.
Right. So I would say
that, I know that's like the longest, craziest question.
Right. So community college really is, for a lot of it gives the opportunity for a lot of students who are possibly first generation, or they're trying to figure themselves out. Not only just young adults, but this could be, single mothers, or, fathers who are also single, or maybe trying to find a new opportunity.
I've had all of those in my classes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or maybe people who had originally dropped out because of a medical condition or disability. Yep. Right. So this gives the ability to kind of reinvent themselves, kind of re-establish themselves in the education, the educational portion of their lives. Now, it is different from a university. Now, I'm talking in more of an objective sense, really, because I've never really been living on a university.
Yeah, I haven't either.
So I wouldn't be, but however, from what other people have told me, is you get to adjust in community college. It sounds more like I'm talking about the benefits of going to community college at this point, but you get to adjust to college level work, while at the same time living your life how it was prior to going to a bigger school.
That is a way better way of saying everything I just said.
Right. No, I mean, no, I'm going to say right.
No, that's why you're president. I'm not.
No, don't say that. Like
that's
I said,
why I do podcasts.
Oh my goodness, stop. Okay. Like I said, I just studied communication, so I kind of understand where I have to go on with this. When students we've even had students who go straight to a 4-year and then end up coming back to community college, because it is such a culture shock to go into a 4-year where you're basically on your own trying to figure out the system, and at the same time, if you really want to do, alone. So I feel that community college gives you the opportunity to first focus on the college level course.
Right, and still stay with all the connections of your community.
Correct.
And save money.
And save money, correct.
Yeah.
And then
so
when
much,
you
so much money.
A tremendous amount of money. And I would say that when you transition to a 4-year, then you can focus on the culture shock aspect, where you will at least know how to do the college level work, but at the same time it won't be so stressed out trying to figure out how to do college level work and try to make new friends and try to adjust your own time schedule.
Right.
And a lot of all these
small...
That is
a lot to throw on like an 18-year-old. Okay, so we're on a little bit of a time crunch at the moment, so let me just get to like my last few leading off questions I want to ask you. So it sounds like we've got like a pretty good grasp on this community college thing.
Right.
How it works, your place in it, your vision, you know, the inner workings of a lot of it, and why people are there, and why they come back, and some of the attitudes going in and out of it.
Right.
Do you plan on going to 4-year college? I mean, you probably do. You're looking to like get majored in psychology, right?
Right.
And do you plan on doing student government there? And what kind of challenges do you think you're gonna face when you get to a 4-year? Because I mean, now that we've sort of confined community college and into at least one sort of nuanced perception, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be like straight student life at the campus, I'm sure, for a vast majority of people.
Right.
At least I think so, from what I can tell. What kind of challenges do you think that's gonna throw at you? And do you want to continue doing student government there?
That's an excellent question. So right, no.
Shut your mouth. No, I'll keep going.
Okay.
Say it's 10:30.
Right. Okay. So as I was gonna say, will I be doing student government when I go to a 4-year university? I am actually not 100% sure.
Did I take my lavalier off? I think. Oh, I threw it on the ground. What do you know? Okay, so when you go to a 4-year college, what kind of event? Not events. What kind of atmosphere do you think it'll be like to be in a student government position there? And do you want to be?
Right. So what do I want to be? I first want to kind of adjust myself in the environment and get the feel of how that 4-year university functions, how it works. Yeah. Knowing my personality and knowing my drive, I would say I would want to partake in student government. Now, the challenges that I would possibly face at a 4-year when it comes to student government is a bit of and I wouldn't say too much of this because I really don't take the student body president too much as to my identity. You know, I don't try to absorb it too much where it controls my whole aspect of my life.
That sounds healthy.
Know? It is, and I'm not saying that I just go and do whatever I want, but I'm just saying that I just don't let it control my life. Yeah. Now, one of the things I will say is that it might be different, kind of not knowing anyone there. It will be different in terms of how high competition will be to get into those big leadership roles.
Yeah,
because
a lot of those people too, funding. They got funding.
Right, exactly.
Like, just mad funding. And to not only build their resume for such a position,
right,
but to stay at their school, balance everything with a good cash flow is a weird way to put it, but with a good flow of income.
Right.
Yeah, competition could be pretty wild.
And not only that, but student government in each institution actually functions a bit differently when it comes to the acceptance of student senators. So the way MCC works is that anyone can stop by, and anyone who's interested will be able to partake in student government as long as they attend the meetings and just attend a committee and attend an event. That's how you're considered a student government senator, or at least a member. And so student government other places, or so from what I've heard, is you have to go through an invitation process. So it's a lot more vetted. It's a lot more who are really the students who are going to be working in student government. So that's almost a process of elimination, really, and they try to find the right fit, and then they invite these students over. So it's also the process of, if I get invited to partake in student government, that I will make that decision at that time.
I feel like you have a pretty good chance. I mean, if you're student body president at your local community college, I mean, do you think they're all going to be student body presidents of the local community colleges?
Right. I think that's some perspective.
Know.
But I mean, I can't really foresee the future. I can't see the factors that go involved. So I mean,
they could be like executives of their own companies or something. Can you put that on the resume?
I mean, I mean, I'm sure these are all students, so I'm not sure how far that would go into, but maybe they're interested in that particular field. However, do I want to go to a 4-year? Yes. And I actually eventually want to pursue either my master's or straight to my doctorate after my 4-year.
That's awesome.
Right. I mean, I want to. Thank you.
Yeah,
my goal really is to pursue a doctorate degree in clinical psychology and become a therapist specifically for Latino community. However, I want to do work with more of the adolescence realm. And it's a bit of my background, of course, of how I grew up and everything kind of inspired me to take on this work. And I want to eventually be a therapist that tailors therapeutic models specifically for Latino adolescents who are dealing with mental illnesses. Because unfortunately, it is a growing population.
Yeah.
It is one of the fastest growing populations, and it's one that's going to eventually be an issue that we have to address. So to address it, at least in the next 10 years, is going to be crucial. And
yeah, wow, I think that is an incredible plan. One, I would definitely give you a few signatures and get them for you for it. I would love to hear like more, like in another perhaps like another show. Just like that alone, like that discussion we could fill like a whole hour and a half on it. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, incredible. And see, at MCC, we are honestly given so many opportunities, and one of the opportunities I was honored to partake in was the undergraduate research program that we have there established. And again, as someone who wants to become a PhD candidate, you have to really have an understanding of what research is in that particular field. And so my topic that I conducted research on was what factors contribute to Latino adolescent depression ages 13 through 19. So in other words, what goes on in these individuals' lives that causes them to have symptoms of major depressive disorder. So this is very specific. And again, as research should be tailored.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's such a touchy topic. I personally have been diagnosed with depression, and goddamn, I know so many people who have, and I'm not sure if that's just because no one was getting diagnosed back in the day. I'm not sure if it's just sort of sign of the times. I really don't know. And I saw this one like at our sort of fair of the clubs. There was this self-help sort of one I went to where they were having free like therapy circles of sorts. Right. I spoke with a woman there, sort of got some contact. She gave me this really cool bracelet. I think it said everyone has mental health. And I thought that was just really, really awe-inspiring. Are there what kind of opportunities for that kind of stuff exist at the college? What are those sessions at the college? Like these free express yourself sort of solidarity circles, I guess. Yeah, so what you're speaking about there is NAMI. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illnesses. And they're a group of people who have suffered from a mental disorder or have a family who has suffered.
and they volunteer or maybe even part-time work there to assist other individuals in the process of healing, recovery, and support. And yes, we do have that on campus. Please, again, do not quote me on the time and the date of this, but I believe that their meeting times is Tuesdays from 2:30 to 3:30. It is a really good support group to go to, especially since that is one of our most foundational bases of mental health support we have on campus, besides, of course, the crisis intervention and behavioral specialists that we have on campus. So, yeah, we do have that resource on campus, and it's for students to kind of connect to one another and to have that support system and to relieve some of that stress, that tension, that anxiety, if you really want to call it, of whatever's going on in their lives. Now, I do want to emphasize this. These aren't necessarily mental health professionals in a sense that they don't have a degree, they may not have a degree in this. They are, however, individuals who have suffered from these issues, have overcame them or managed them, and are now wanting to assist other individuals with these issues that they might be going through.
Right. So there, I mean, I guess sort of a personal authority on the subject, probably have one or two good life experiences to pass down, a good reflective mirror to to bounce off of.
And it really it does give you a bit more from my personal opinion, my personal perspective. I am not a mental health professional as of yet, so please do not take my word on this.
You have to like state that.
I have to by law.
Isn't that like a lawful thing? Yeah, correct. I have to state that. I'm not either.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I have to state that, but I'm not either.
None of us are mental health professionals. However, I would say it is okay that we both have dealt with some sort of mental discomfort
it's definitely
or agony.
Okay. There's this great quote. I know. And I think it goes something like, "It's okay to have a secret bigger than the one you're known for."
Okay.
And I think that was like, wow. I think it was this guy Nick Yaris who said that. He spent I think he spent like 20 years on death row on a false conviction, and then he got out. I listened to like a long interview with him about his experience, his life story, and that was something he said, because he wrote about it and whatnot. He said even he still has bigger secrets than the one he's most known about, and he's like and it's okay. And I was like, wow, I thought that was so incredibly inspiring.
Right.
Wow. Very cool.
I have a friend who, in his wrist, he has a bracelet that says, "It's okay not to be okay."
You know what?
Have hope.
That is the Have Hope Foundation. I actually have their T-shirt. I donate to them every now and then.
Really? That's excellent. I love it.
Sure. Maybe I'll wear it next time. But yeah, it's right over there.
That'd definitely
have a
be
Have Hope Foundation T-shirt.
That'd be excellent. And just reading that and to see how the mental health community is growing and expanding, and there's more knowledge and there's a bit more support for individuals who are suffering and going through these issues. I think it's excellent, and that's what pushes me a bit more to continue into this field. It's competitive, I'll be very honest. It's highly competitive, one of the most highly competitive fields to go into in academic or in just a professional aspect. It's competitive, but I'm willing to take the effort and the work to make sure that individuals are taking care of themselves and are getting the support that they need.
Well, honestly, it doesn't sound like there's probably almost anything more fulfilling than that, like helping other people. And on the topic of competitiveness, I mean, it's going to be hard to like not love and pursue that work, and at least in my opinion, what I would think about it, because to give up would be to give up on those kids, man. Oof. That's heavy.
Right.
That's heavy. I mean, competition's probably just going to fall to the side of it, because it'd be really hard not to just be fully engrossed and so passionate about that kind of work.
Right. I would honestly say, and these are, of course, just kind of stories that a lot of my psychology professors have told me, who have worked specifically in this field. A lot of the times when people want to work with other individuals who have mental health disorders or are struggling internally, these people who want to help them out don't mentally prepare themselves enough to help out. Because
I have so many friends who want to be social workers and then have, like, I don't know if a criteria to be a social worker is to have your life in perfect, happy, rainbow order, but a lot of people I know who want to be social workers, which is kind of like it's similar in like sort of the realm of helping people through life issues and sufferings.
Right.
It's like get to the point where they're like, I don't even know if I can help myself. I can help these people.
Right. And yeah, we're really delving too much into the field of mental health and everything. So
no, tangent's okay. We can hand you back to presidential stuff. But let's do that. Let's do that shift, because I feel like we wrapped up a lot of that. I mean, a lot of nuance, understanding. There's going to be trials and tribulations, but I wish you the best in the psychology field. That sounds awesome. It sounds extremely fulfilling, and it sounds like you have a good head on your shoulders. Let me ask you this last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before I let you go. Do people call you Mr. President?
Oh,
like they do in the movies?
Goodness.
Mr. President. Like, do people do that to you?
Yes.
Mr. President. I would probably get like an ego trip if people started saying Mr. President to me.
I'll be very honest. When people do call me Mr. President, there's a lot of emotions that go into this. There is a bit of a sense of importance.
That is the coolest title.
And
anyone can have.
You'd be surprised. People literally, I'm not talking about like the majority of people, but I'm talking about like people who I've known for a while stand up, kind of give me that like military kind of head thing.
Oh, do I know one of those people?
And you might, and so myself. Then they're like, Mr. President, how are you?
Mr. President.
And I'm over here like, this might seem a little really rude to a lot of people, but I roll my eyes, and I'm like, okay, I'm flattered.
Yeah.
Well, please call me Ramiro.
No, it's good to not forget you're one of the people.
I'm human.
Yeah, it's good to forget. And don't let people forget it either.
No,
I'm a student too.
Right, I'm a student. I'm human.
I work a local job.
Right, I'm just an individual. Exactly. Yeah. I struggle with life. Yeah. I'm just an individual on campus who has possibly a bit more influence on the student body and the things that go around it than any other individual, but I'm still human. I still have a lot of my flaws, you know. I still have a lot of strengths, you know. So
really important, and something I don't think is said enough and isn't understood enough from the layman's a weird word to use for it, but you know, person, underling's not right either, but person that is, you know, under that system of governance, and then someone who is sort of tweaking the parts of that governance. It is super easy to vilify those people. It's super easy to become disattached to them because you probably just assume right off the bat that they're disattached from you. Right. When it's almost like the opposite, because at least at this sort of small community level, community college, you're more in tune with the zeitgeist of students than I'm sure they are, because you're looking at the studies, what they think, you know what the vast majority want, you understand what, you know, this person, that person, you probably know so many people, I mean, but for some reason, even to me going into this interview, and you know, I already know, like, I'm an idiot and I don't know anything about this. That, right. No, it's fine, and even going into this, I have some sort of assumption, like, inside me, somewhere deep in there, that there's like a disconnect, and it's so hard when you're not literally there seeing everyone in the student government, like considering all the students. It you know, just like a disconnect
there. And I hope I'm able to bridge that.
Yeah, with your communication initiative.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds perfect. I love it, and I love the way the school's going. That sounds like a good way to finish. Unless you had any finishing thoughts.
No, I just want to say thank you for having me here.
You're
this
so
is actually
welcome.
pretty fun. I always listen to podcasts, and I've never thought I'd be able to be in one. So
I almost can tell, because you're really good at the long form discussion medium that we've just conducted. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here, Corey.
I would love to have you again and type up a bunch more questions.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
This was great. Yeah, I'll have it all souped up and ready to go soon. Thank you so much for coming.
All right, thank you,
It was
Corey.
great having you.
Yeah, thank you.